Came across a video the other day which I think warrants a lot of talking points about some of the wider issues going on in British politics today. So tonight is the European elections, very large scale election. You know, tens of millions of people are voting. In fact, it occurred to me that with this being the final day of the Indian votes as well, 800 million plus Indians going to the poll. There may be more people voting today worldwide than any single day in history. That's a thought that's occurred to me, and it's just an interesting point. I think the Brexit Party is going to do well, but I'll leave that commentary for tomorrow um, because I need to think about what angle I want to take on it. Anyway, this is about a situation that happened in Oldham a few weeks ago, and Tommy Robinson doesn't really need an introduction. He's one of the country's best known anti-Islam activists. He's often been described as far right. That's perhaps a contentious point. I'm not a Tommy Robinson supporter, so I'm not going to go out of my way to defend him. I'll leave that for the Robinson people to determine. But I'm not a Robinson supporter, and there's a lot of tactics that he uses, a lot of approaches that I don't agree with. But this video does bring about a lot of questions. Now, before I continue, if you are a Robinson supporter, feel free to comment here, but I'm not going to tolerate anyone trying to coerce me into their way of thinking. You know, I just say what I believe. I've had this situation before where Robinson supporters have come onto my videos and said, "Oh, you're dead wrong," and they've tried to pigeonhole me. Go and fuck yourselves. If that's what you're going to do, I'll block you from my channel. Why? Because someone's channel is not a democracy. And if they're getting abused and smeared on their own channel, it's up to them to decide if they want to put up with that or not. And I've made the decision that I keep the comment section open, but I'm not going to put up with personal abuse against myself. Don't need to, don't have to. Anyway, there's a lot of talking points with the video, so let me just get straight into it. The video was from Tommy Robinson's own channel, and it's very notable that this didn't get any media attention, or rather, the media attention that it did get was molded as violence at Tommy Robinson event, violence at Tommy Robinson rally. So everything was about Tommy Robinson, i.e., molding the language as if to insinuate that he and his supporters were responsible for the trouble that broke out in Oldham. Now, I watched the whole video, and okay, it's from a biased source, but there are certain things in that video that are very hard to refute, and the police themselves didn't refute them. So, Tommy Robinson is standing in tonight's EU elections. I'm not sure if he's standing as an independent or for the Brexit Party or what, but the point is he's standing, and as a British citizen, he has a right to stand. Tommy Robinson's had a few run-ins with the law, but if he is standing as a political candidate, he has a democratic right to campaign peacefully. That's what he was doing in Oldham. I watched the whole video. He was campaigning, he was talking to men, women, and children about his politics. But what happened was a group of Islamists wearing balaclavas were escorted by police all the way from Halifax. Now, this event was taking place in Oldham, Greater Manchester. Halifax is in West Yorkshire. I'm not sure what the distance is, but it's a fair bit of space between the two towns. So these guys were in balaclavas. They were clearly going there for trouble. Why the hell did the police enable that? It does make you wonder. Um, that really, I think Greater Manchester Police have a lot of questions to answer about that. Why they enabled a situation where there was going to be trouble. Now, just for the record, I don't think that Tommy Robinson supporters can claim to be clean in this regard. I've seen other videos showing Tommy Robinson supporters acting like a bunch of hooligans. For example, rampaging through streets in London, attacking the police, shouting, "We want Tommy out! We want Tommy out!" and so on. And they always get defensive and they always deny it. But I've seen violence from Robinson supporters. It's irrefutable. And I think Tommy Robinson needs to condemn that. He needs to condemn that sort of thing done in his name. But this particular rally was peaceful. He was simply going there to speak about his politics, which he has a right to do as a candidate. It was an event where women and children were present, families. And whilst I would never vote for Robinson and I don't endorse his politics, the fact of the matter is, when you have a situation whereby a white working class guy is speaking out against Islamic extremism, and the police appear to be enabling the Islamist thugs who were attacking the rally with bricks, with bottles. Bear in mind, children were present at this. You know, it showed footage of little children being rushed away in vans and so on. And I have to say, Robinson was being very responsible, at least on this occasion. He was he wasn't fighting back. He wasn't getting his supporters to, fight these people. He was actually coordinating the families to go away because there was young children and he didn't want them to get hurt. So I have to say, if not on other occasions, on this occasion he acted very responsibly. Probably because he knows he's standing for politics now and he has to be more responsible. But regardless, several questions. Why did the police enable this? Why, at least not on the surface, were there not arrests made of these Islamist thugs? By the way, one of the police officers was approached by actually a Muslim man who said, "It is our people, it's the Muslim guys who are doing this. Why are you not arresting them?" This was from a Muslim man. There was an Afghan refugee um, who shook hands with Tommy Robinson at another event, saying that there are people in this country who are not integrating and who are, as Vicky put it, doing bad things. So there is real serious questions here. Why did the media not cover it? Why is it the likes of I and the Guardian and pretty much the press as a whole, and even right wing newspapers, were portraying it as violence at Tommy Robinson event? Not a single one of them said Islamists caused violence at Tommy Robinson event. This is a real problem. And here's the thing. I don't know if Robinson will get a seat tomorrow or not, but when far right figures, for want of a better term, I won't use that term. I'll say neo-nationalist because I think that's a fair term. Okay, if the supporters want to take that as an insult, fine. I'll get into the issue of the supporters in a minute because I've had my own experience recently. But I'll say nationalist, right? Because I've heard Robinson himself refer to himself as a nationalist. So, if polite society, if the establishment, if mainstream parties are going to pander to Islamist groups, as the Liberal Democrats, the Green Party, the SNP, and others have done, they've pandered to Islamist groups like MEND, um, and they're going to present Tommy Robinson as a boogeyman, yet they will not even vocalize criticism of Islamism by name. I'm aware that Vince Cable has come out and on the side of the LGBT people in this Birmingham schools row. But I do raise a question when the left is so obsessed by Tommy Robinson, and unlike his supporters, I do not believe he's above criticism. But there is an obsession with Tommy Robinson from the left, and they don't seem to really care about what is happening in our society. They're very good at condemning, like, oh, the rise of the far right, and we need to be worried about this. And I am concerned about the rise of nationalism across Europe. But if centrists like me don't say we need to, we need to recognise there's a problem going on here, then it's no good vilifying Tommy Robinson when he is simply the messenger in a lot of cases. I think I think he's a pretty shady character. I don't think he's as innocent as the supporters make him out to be. I mean, he's a former football hooligan, among other things. But that doesn't mean everything he's saying is wrong. And as a candidate, he has a right to campaign. Now, where I put a big caveat here is I think Tommy Robinson supporters, a lot of them are just, they don't help themselves. When they behave like a bunch of boozed up football hooligans, going down a main street shouting, England, Tommy Robinson, that is a real image issue. And they'll say, oh, it shouldn't be about image, but they can't really whinge about how people see them if they behave that way. Um, I heard a woman who supported Tommy Robinson claiming that I was a convert. I was a convert, a guy who's been consistently outspoken about Islamist extremism in this country. I'm a convert. That's the sort of tunnel vision mentality that Tommy Robinson supporters have, and it's why I've got no time for them. And there is, frankly, a blood and soil nationalistic element to that. Do I think that Tommy Robinson's a racist? I don't think he's a racist, but I do think he's an ultra nationalist. And I've seen a blood and soil nationalistic mentality with Tommy Robinson supporters. I mean, they're not interested in working with reformist Muslims to tackle the Islamists. They're just against Muslims in general. That's not what I'm about. I believe that there is a big problem with integration. I believe there is a big problem with Islamic extremism. And I will fiercely defend the right to criticize Islam. But I don't think that talking about the Muslims generally is the right answer. I'm not saying so much Tommy Robinson himself does that, but that is absolutely the mentality of his supporters. And I've seen it many times. So, anyway, that video, that rally, and the trouble that broke out at it, the police have some serious questions to answer. Why were they enabling these Islamist thugs who were shouting Allahu Akbar, going there to cause violence? Now, why the hell were the police doing that? I mean, it's shooting themselves in the foot because these Islamists aren't going to thank them. They target the police just as much as Tommy Robinson supporters. So I really see a situation where it's a powder keg. And it's no good the liberal left, the regressive left, saying let's focus on Tommy Robinson, let's condemn him. What he's saying about things like the grooming abuse and Islamist gangs and Islamist cells in this country is true. I don't support Tommy Robinson. Some people might say, oh, well, you're a hypocrite because you're saying you're against Islamism, but you don't support Robinson. I don't support Robinson because I think often he hasn't behaved in a responsible way. At this particular event, he was being responsible. But I don't support him because I don't like some of the tactics he's used in the past. And in the end of the day, the guy has a very dodgy record. He's been arrested numerous times. Now, some people might say, oh, the system's rigged against him. And for the record, I don't agree with censoring him while Islamist groups still stay up on Facebook. But I'm not going to cry a river for Tommy Robinson. I think often he's, dug himself into a hole with the way he's behaved. So I'm not really. And as for Robinson supporters acting like a bunch of hooligans, don't whinge about your image. If you're going to go down a main street, throwing Molotov cocktails at the police, shouting, Tommy, Tommy, if you're going to behave like that, don't whinge about your image. That's the way I see it. And I think Tommy Robinson supporters have tunnel vision. You're either with him or against him. There's no kind of middle ground like I'm proposing, where I don't agree with his politics, but I don't disagree with everything he's saying. For them, it's like, oh, if you criticize Tommy, then you must be a convert. So they whinge about, getting an image problem, but they have a really narrow worldview. They do. And if they think that they seem to think that they cannot be criticized. I think some of the media bias has definitely been unfair. I think the way the media portrays these sort of things, is infuriatingly distorted. The likes of the Independent and the Eye are disgraceful the way they report such things. Um, and like I say, Robinson was responsible in this particular event. I give him credit for that. But he has to be. I mean, if he wants to be a candidate, he needs to also rein in on his supporters, those who are using violence. I'll leave it there, but there's a lot of major issues around this. I'm going to leave the comment section open, but if you're a Robinson supporter, if you want to say, look, you've got this wrong about Tommy or whatever, that's fine. But if you come here to abuse me, to say, to make false accusations against me, like I'm a convert or something like that, you can just piss off my channel because I'm under no obligation to host that. Just as Tommy Robinson's under no obligation to host criticism on his channel.